a former French colony, this time Gabon. The country's military has deposed the newly re-elected president and say he's been placed under house arrest, while his son has been arrested for, quote, treason and corruption.
It is brought to the attention of the national and international community that Mr. Ali Bongo Ondimba is being kept under house arrest. He's surrounded by his family and his doctors.
Well, the military leaders also shared a list of people who've been arrested for alleged large-scale fraud of public funds and who they claim organised international financial embezzlement and other charges. Regional journalist Timothy Obezu can take us through what has been unfolding on a busy day in the Central African nation.
Basically, in Gabon, there was the presidential election that happened over the weekend. And early hours Wednesday, we saw the Gabon, the State Electoral Commission, or the State Electoral Body, declared incumbent leader, President Ali Bongo, as the winner of that election. And that would mean he is returning for a third term. But just shortly after that announcement, we saw a group of senior military officers, make a national broadcast or a televised broadcast on Gabon 24. And that broadcast was delivered in French.
We, the Defence and Security Forces, gathered within the Committee for the Transition and the Restoration of Institutions on behalf of the Gabonese people, and guarantors of the protection of the institutions have decided to defend peace by ending the regime in place. For this purpose, the general elections of August the 26th, 2023, and its results are cancelled. All institutions are dissolved, including government institutions, the Senate, the National Assembly, the Constitutional Court. We call on the population, the community of the brotherly countries settled in Gabon, as well as the Gabonese diaspora, to remain calm. We will reaffirm our stance to respect Gabon's commitment to the national and international communities.
Basically, we're looking at another coup in Africa. And apart from the problem with the credibility of the election that was cited by the military leaders there, the military leaders also said in French that, they highlighted serious institutional, political, economic, and social factors or crises as part of the reason why they have taken that step. Already, there are videos on social media suggesting that these military leaders, again, like what we saw in Niger, might be seen or might be getting the support of the local people there.
Well, we have received this exclusive footage from Gabon showing vast crowds of people celebrating the military takeover. As you can see, those military vehicles going through the crowds to claps and applause as well, as has been happening throughout the day. As clearly appears here, the overthrow looks to have the backing of many people in Gabon, with citizens greeting those military convoys, waving the nation's flag as well. No hint of real violence or any kind of unrest like that, only celebrations from the videos that we have received coming in to the program. And while some are focused on welcoming the military takeover, others have taken aim at the deposed leader by vandalizing or generally removing billboards containing Ali Bongo's image. RT's Nolavuyu Kunge and Rory Suchet talked through the background of the ousted leader earlier.
African state has been ruled by the same family for more than 55 years, and that's out of the 63 years of its independence from France in 1960. Also, just to provide some sort of context and add on to what we know, the president, Ali Bongo, is the son of Omar Bongo Ondimba, who was a president at the state for 42 years with massive French support. Ali Bongo took over his father, who died in 2009, and ever since then, he has been in power. Gabon's First Lady, right alongside Ali, whose name is Sylvia Valentine Bongo Ondimba. is a French national. Bongo's presidency has been accompanied by a lot of corruption, scandals, a lot of internationally recognized human rights violations, allegations of election fraud, and many discrepancies. It does sound like, as we've just mentioned, a country that is ran by a family, and with Ali Bongo now seeking a third term in election, as we are understanding at the moment, he might not be able to stick to power like his father did, because we are seeing the winds of political change taking place and blowing through the continent.
Nolovoyo, how can we describe the relationship between Paris and Libreville after the latter gained its independence?
Well, we already are seeing global powers like France speaking out following the events in Gabon.
France condemns the military coup taking place in Gabon, and France follows with utmost attention to the developing situation and reaffirms that the results of elections should be respected.
Once again, during this year, the action of the French diplomatic network has been marked by the response to several major crises. The situation in Sudan and the remarkable organization of the evacuation of our nationals, the coup d'etat in Niger, and now the situation in Gabon that we're following with the utmost attention.
The whole area, starting with Central African Republic, then Mali, then Burkina Faso, now Niger, maybe Gabon. It's in a very difficult situation, and certainly the ministers, today defense ministers and tomorrow foreign affairs ministers, have to have a deep thought on what is going on there and how we can improve our policy in respect to these countries. This is a big issue for Europe.
Those comments were the first reaction from France, who is also the former colonial power in Gabon, whose influence in Africa has been dubbed and has been seen as being undermining, especially following a series of recent coups that have toppled the former colonized governments and countries in Africa. And I also think that given the long-standing link between foreign powers and insecurities in Africa, one cannot ignore the involvement of both local and foreign actors in the current wave of military coups in Africa. And I think a lot of people have been saying that military coups in Africa are a continuation of politics by means, especially in West and Central Africa, where the political system favors only the political class to the detriment of the masses, and those masses who can't wean and remove themselves from these so-called political powers that we are talking about here. You'd also remember that in March this year, Emmanuel Macron spoke on a new vision of partnership with African countries, and this new vision of partnership entailed reducing France's military presence within the African country. But despite those claims and despite those statements and despite those promises that the president put forward not so long ago, this whole matter has been dubbed as being instigated by Macron, with many African citizens saying that despite all of those claims, Emmanuel Macron is to blame for the atrocities and the failures within the African state, especially within the Western Central African region. So quite a lot will be coming from those side of the region, and quite a lot of statements and press releases are expected to come through, to filter through within the African continent, coming from the likes of France and other Western countries. At this moment, Africans are very much involved in pro-independence movements, and that is putting pressure on the colonizing powers such as France. And this is all reminding them of the promises that they had made to secure African support for the past efforts, or during the past efforts. African citizens are celebrating. It feels like they're finally getting their powers back.
Well, Moscow, meanwhile, has said it is keeping a close eye on the developing situation in Gabon.
I'm Ali Bongo Ondimba, President of Gabon, and I'm to send a message to all the friends that we have all over the world, to tell them to make noise, for the people here have arrested me and my family. My son is somewhere, my wife is in another place, and I'm at the residence. Right now, I'm in the residence, and nothing is happening. I don't know what's going on. So I'm calling you to make noise, really. I'm thanking you. Thank you.